Hello everyone! In this video, I'm going to be talking about the changes to the free version that are coming up very soon and talking a little bit more about the choices you have moving forward if you will no longer be able to use the free version of ClassIn. So first, I think everybody at this point, has learned about the changes that are happening for the free version. So starting on February 27th, which is not very far away, the free version will start allowing only 20 lessons total per month. So before, with the free version, you could make 20 lessons per class. But then if you got to the end of a class, you could just create a new class and add 20 more lessons, create a new class, 20 more lessons. So really your lessons were unlimited with the free version. So now you will have a limit of 20 per month. So if you teach more than 20 lessons in a month, you will have some decisions that you have to make. First, you can choose to leave ClassIn, which is totally understandable if you're able to find a different platform that works for you that is free or cheaper than the options with ClassIn. That is one option that you have. The other option is to upgrade to one of the paid versions of ClassIn. And this is where there is some confusion. The most well-known option are the subscription option that have been talked about a lot in the group. But there is another option available for the business plan, which is called the consumption model, which is a little bit more confusing. So what I'm going to do is show a PowerPoint that I created. I actually created this a while back when the year subscription was first introduced, but everything is still the same. So I'm going to use this PowerPoint to compare the two options for the business plan, talk about the pros and the cons, and how to determine which one is best for you. And that's where I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you which one you should use because everybody's situation is different. But I just want to give you the tools and the information for you to make the best decision for yourself. And like I said, that decision might be to just leave ClassIn completely. That is totally up to you. But if you do choose to upgrade, these are the options you have for the business plan. So first, what are the differences? Some of the differences are going to be completely irrelevant, not going to help you determine which one to get. For example, 50 students in class for the subscription, 300 students per class for the consumption. Most of us don't need either of those. So that's not going to help me determine which one I want. You can have 6 students on stage, which is like up here, the students you can see, 6 for the subscription, 12 for the consumption. You might think, well, I don't need that many students on stage, but this could open up options for you to do group lessons or a once a month big group where you charge the students to have a group lesson and you can talk about conversational skills. There are so many options available for that. So you might not need it, but it's there if you decide to use it in the future. This is one that I love about the business. So like we said, 20 lessons per class used to be what the free version offered. But with the business, you can have 200 lessons per class. So I've had the business for almost a year now, and my students are in their same class that I created when I got the business plan because I have so many lessons available in that class. So once you get to 200 lessons, then you just have to create a new class for that student. But you can make as many classes as you want and as many lessons in each of those classes, up to 200 per class. So saves you a lot of trouble not having to create multiple classes. And that is the same for the subscription and for the consumption. This is also the same. Again, nothing we're going to probably need, but your lesson can be up to 24 hours long. I am not going to teach a 24-hour lesson, but it's available. Full classroom management. I didn't go into detail because there are so many things in this, and I did make a few videos about some of the options in the classroom management. One of the big ones that I like with business is the trophy. You can give a student a trophy. My students love the trophies. Batch adding of lessons. So instead of having to add each lesson individually like you did with free, you can batch add up to 50 at a time. So if I teach my student Winnie Saturday, 8 o'clock every week, I can pop in Saturday, 8 o'clock, 50, and pop, it pops them all in, 50 lessons at once. Saves you a lot of time. You can also turn off the student's ability to close courseware, so they can't exit out of your courseware, PowerPoints, PDF. They can still minimize, they can still move them around, they can still click on the buttons, but they can't close your courseware. So there's a lot of options in the classroom management that are available for both of the business models. Cloud recording. This is where the two different models are a little bit different. So with the cloud recording, that means that you can set ClassIn to automatically record the lesson. So with free, you'd have to click on the little button up here to record manually. Then you'd save it to your computer, and then you'd have to send that recording to the student via WeChat or on ClassIn. With the cloud recording, you don't have to do that. It saves you some time. You would just, when you set up the lesson, there's a box to click cloud recording. Then when you get into class, there's a box that pops up, and then you just hit start when you're ready to start the recording. And then after class, the student is able to view the recording on their own time in the ClassIn app. And the great thing about the cloud recording also is they cannot download it. So you don't have to worry about them downloading and like distributing it to their friends, trying to get money from their friends for watching your classes. It's safe in the cloud. They can't download it. Also, you don't have to send it to them manually. So it saves you a lot of time. And remembering to manually record. That was the problem I had. I would so many times forget to record the lesson. And then I'm like, oh, sorry. So I don't have to worry about that problem anymore. So with the subscription model, you get the cloud recording is included. So it's part of your plan, no additional price, but you can only store it for 3 months. After 3 months, it just automatically gets trashed. You don't have to do it yourself. You don't get any fee for it. It just gets trashed, which just means the students can't view it after 3 months. Mine are set up to delete after 3 months, and I've never had a parent complain saying they can't watch one of their videos from 3 or 4 months ago. Usually they watch it within a month, so plenty of time for them to view it. You still get the cloud recording with the business consumption, but it's an additional cost. So you have the cost of the classes, then you have an additional cost of the cloud recording. You get free storage for 3 months, so it'll still store for those 3 months, but with that additional cost. After 3 months, if you don't want to delete them, you would have to pay for additional storage. There's a storage fee. But like I said, I have mine set. You can set it to just automatically delete at 3 months. I don't have to do it myself, and I don't get charged for storage. I just get charged for the one-time recording fee. And then the same for both. The teacher can enter the class 20 minutes early, and the student can enter class 10 minutes early, which is more than what was available with the free version. So there are a few more differences, but these are the ones that, for me, are the big things that are important to know between the two different business plans. So most of these differences aren't going to be a determining factor. Either one of these would work for me. I don't need the 200 or the 300 students per class. So either one would work. What's going to be the determining factor for most people is going to be when you get to the pricing. So the pricing is a lot different of how it is calculated and how you pay for them. So the business subscription is so much easier to understand. It's clear cut. There's no confusion, and it's all in US dollars, which makes it easier for us that are in the United States. We don't have to worry about converting anything. It's all there in our currency. So the normal subscription price, if you want to do just 6 months, is $160 US. And if you just do the math, divide by 6, that means you're paying about $26.20 a month. If you choose to do a full 12-month subscription, the normal price is $300 US, which, if you do the math, is about $25 a month. There is a 20% off discount code that myself and other teachers have been able to share that will give you a discount on the first subscription you use. So that means if you do 6 months, after you finish that 6 months, if you want to renew it, you're going to be paying the full price the next time. Same thing with the 12 months. Once you finish your 12-month subscription, you're going to be going back to the full price. So if you use a 20% off discount code, the 6 month would be $128, which comes to about $21.30 a month. The 12 months is $240 US, which is about $20 a month. So very good deal. $20 a month is very affordable for most teachers. And for complete transparency, yes, if you use my 20% off discount code, I say code, but it's a link, my 20% off discount link, I do get something in return. Full transparency, but it's a win-win. You're getting 20% off. I'm getting a little bit from it. If I was in the situation where I needed 20% off, I don't care what the other person's getting. I want the 20% off. So just wanted to make sure everybody understood. I do get something in return, but you also get that 20% off as well. Then we go over to consumption. This one is a lot more complicated to understand. So there's the first con. The con is it's a lot more complex because there's so many different parts and pieces to look at. Especially if you teach a variety of types of lessons. You teach an hour lesson, 30-minute lessons, group classes, one-on-one classes. There's a lot more to look at. Also, it's in Chinese currency. So you have to kind of go back and forth between I'm paying this, but I'm getting this, and this is how much I'm paying. So there's a lot more to figure out and look at. So the pro of the subscription, so much easier to understand. Clear cut, no confusion. Con of the consumption, there's a lot more confusion there. But for some people, the consumption might be a better deal. And that's why I wanted to make sure I explain this as best I can, try to make it as clear as possible so you can make the best decision for you. And you might think, well, I just don't feel like figuring out the consumption. I'm just going to do the subscription. That is totally fine. That is, everybody has the right to make up their own decision for what's best for them. And if the confusion factor is enough to make you choose the subscription, go for it. Do what's best for you. All right, so let's break it down. So with the business consumption, the way I like to describe it is thinking of if you have ever had a child in elementary school and they buy a school lunch. You never just give them, let's say school lunch is $1.25 for their main meal. You don't give them $1.25 every day to pay for their lunch. At least I never did. What you do is you send a large amount, let's say $100. You put that $100 into their lunch account, and then every day your child goes to school, they go through the lunch line. The lunch lady puts in what they bought, and then it just deducts from their total. The next day they go in, they buy their lunch, they deduct the next lunch from their total until it gets down to zero. And then you have to give another lump sum, whatever you want to pay, to put into their account so they can continue getting lunch. That's basically what the consumption is. You're putting one amount, large amount, into your ClassIn account. And then every time you teach, depending on what you teach, how many students you teach, the length of your lesson, it just deducts each time you teach a lesson until you get down to zero. And then you have to put more money into your account. The thing that makes it the most confusing is the account total is in RMB, Chinese currency. So the account total you have to start with, you can't do any less, is 2,000 RMB. So that's your lunch account. You have to put 2,000 RMB into your ClassIn lunch account. What you pay, since we don't have Chinese currency, we pay $320. You might think if you do the math or do it on your phone, you're going to say, well, 2,000 RMB is less than $320. Why am I paying $320? Trust me, I asked the same thing when I upgraded to business. I was like, why am I paying $320 when 2,000 RMB is only like $295, something like that? What they told me was they increase it because of exchange rate fluctuation, because things are always changing. It's going up and down, back and forth. So to account for any of those fluctuations, they make us pay a little bit more. I didn't like it, but there was nothing I could do about it. It was either take it or leave it, so I took it. So keep that in mind. You are paying a little bit more than what the conversion rate actually is. So once you pay into your ClassIn lunch account, you pay that $320, you will have a credit of 2,000 RMB. There is no expiration. So it's not like the yearly where you pay this, you get it for a year and it's done. With the consumption, whatever credit, that 2,000, as you continue to teach, eat your lunch, pay your bills, after you get to 0, then you have to pay again. That could be 1 year, that could be 2 years, it could even be 3 years depending on how many students you teach. So that is the positive to consumption. There is no expiration. You use it until it's gone. Okay? You still can get the 20% off discount with the business consumption, which is about $256 US. So when you pay that, they will still give you the full 2,000 RMB with no expiration. Okay, so we've paid into our ClassIn lunch account. We have 2,000 RMB. Now it's time to eat lunch, or in our case, teach our classes. So every time you teach a class, it just deducts from that total. But this is where it gets a little tricky. Again, it's in RMB. The amount you deduct depends on how many students you teach, how long your lessons are, and that cloud recording, remember I told you, is an additional fee, which is optional. So if you teach 1v1 for every 30 minutes, it's 1 RMB. Okay, that's per class because you only have 1 student per class. And this always rounds up to the nearest half hour. So if you teach 15 to 30 minutes, it's going to be the 1 RMB. And I say 15 because if you teach less than 15, if your student doesn't show up before 15, you can leave and you don't get charged at all. So that's nice. If you teach 35, I say 35 because you can't set a class for 31, 32, 33. So if you teach between 35 to 60 minutes, it would just be double, 2 RMB. So if I'm teaching a class, I have 2,000 RMB. I teach one-on-one 30 minutes. They just deduct 1 RMB from my ClassIn lunch account. Now I have 1,999 RMB. And again, the next time I teach, it deducts each time you teach a class. So one-on-one 30 minutes is super simple. It's just 1 RMB per class. Super simple. Or 2 if you teach more than 30 minutes. Also keep in mind, this is based on what you set the class when you create the class. So make sure you're setting your class for 1v1 and for 30 minutes or less. If I set my class for 1v2, but it's only 1 student, I'm going to get charged more. If I set the class for 40 minutes, but I only stay for 30, I'm still going to be charged for the 1 hour because it's based on what you set the class for. So that's super important, making sure you set your lessons correctly. Now let's get to 1v2. Again, 30 minutes, every 30 minutes is 2 RMB per student. So if you teach 2 students, each student would be 2 RMB if it's a 30-minute class. So 2 students would be 4 RMB. If you teach an hour class, it would just be double that. So 2 students, 4 RMB each would be 8 RMB. Then we have the cloud recording. So remember, this is optional. You don't have to do it. And if you don't do it, it will save you money. If you do the cloud recording and the subscription, you don't have to worry about it because it's free. It's included. But with the consumption for 30 minutes is 1 RMB. So it's really not that difficult, the numbers, because it's 1 or 2 usually. So it's very simple numbers to figure out. So the cloud recording does not round up. With cloud recording, you only pay for what you record. So for me, I usually teach 25 minutes. So from the time I start the recording to the time I end the class or end the recording is the only time I pay for. I just round it up to 30 just to make the calculations easier. So really, when I teach a 25-minute class, my recording is only like 0.92 or 95, somewhere in there. But that's too much to figure out. I just like to round up. I'd rather be a little bit higher than be a little bit lower. And the recording is only per class. So if you teach a group class, let's say you teach 1v2, you're not paying twice for the recording. You only pay for the class, 1 fee for the class recording. And just so you know, 1 RMB is about 15 cents. So really, if you teach 1v1, 30 minutes, and you have no recording, you're only spending 15 cents per class, or 30 cents if you add a recording to it. The great thing about the consumption is you only pay if you teach. So with the subscription, if you teach 2 classes a month, or if you teach 200 classes a month, you're paying the same price because it's one class for 12 months. But with the consumption, if you teach 2 classes a month, you only pay or deduct from your account 2 classes. But if you teach 200 a month, it's going to deduct 200 classes. So it really depends on how many classes and students you teach each month to determine which one is the best for you. Also, it's important to know that you don't have to track the deduction of your account. When you get the business consumption, you will see that 2,000 RMB on your dashboard. And every time you teach a class, you can go to your finance details and it will give you a full layout of every single class you taught and how much it was deducted in RMB. So there's no confusion, there's no surprises. You could check every single day. As soon as you finish the class, it will show up and you can track all those deductions. So you know exactly how much you have and how much you've used, okay? So you don't have to track that yourself. So now you might be thinking, well, what's the easiest way to figure out which one is the best? Well, subscription is easy. Just think, how much am I paying a month? Well, for the first year, it's going to be $20 a month. After that, it would be $25 a month. With the consumption, it's a little bit more tricky. If you teach 1v1, 30-minute classes like I do, it's super simple. But if you teach more than that, it might be a little bit more confusing. So I created this fancy chart to hopefully help make it a little bit more easier for you to calculate and understand. So I'm going to show you with just a fake teacher, just fake numbers here. So let's say I teach some 1v1 classes. First, I'm going to figure out the number of classes in a week. It's a lot easier as long as you teach the same schedule every week, which most of us do. Just take 1 week and look at your classes for that 1 week. Let's say I teach 10 classes in a week, and then I have to times it by the class length. If they are all 15 to 30 minutes, I would just write in a 1. Let's say I teach 10 that are 30 minutes, but let's say I also teach some that are 35 to 60. I'll have to make a new category. So I'm going to say, let's say I teach 5 classes a week that are 35 to 60 minutes. I would just times that by 2 because it's 2 RMB for this, 1 RMB for this. And then I just do the calculations. 10 times 1 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. So in 1 week, I'm going to use 10 RMB for my 10 classes that are 15 to 30 minutes and 10 RMB for my 5 classes that are 35 to 60 minutes. Okay, now 1v2 plus. This one's a little bit longer because it depends on how many students you teach. Let's say I teach just 2 classes a week, and in those 2 classes, I have 3 students in each class, and my class length is 30 minutes. So I would write a 2 here. So I have 2 times 3 times 2. So that would be 12 RMB. Now let's say I teach 1 class a week with 2 students in the class, and these classes are 45 minutes, which means it rounds up to the 60. So I would multiply that by 4. So I have 1 times 2 times 4. So that would be 8 RMB. So these classes, the 2 with 3 students, 30 minutes, 12 RMB credit. 1 class with 2 students, which is 4 RMB class length, is 8 RMB credit total. Then I have my cloud recording, which again is optional, and I can do it for all of my students, or I can choose which classes I want to record. You don't have to do it for all or none. So let's say I'm going to, out of all my classes, let's say 10 of them want a recording. And remember, it doesn't matter if it's my group class or my one-on-one classes because I only pay the recording per class. But it depends on the length. For just to make it simple, I'm just rounding up. Remember, you only pay for the actual recording time, but I just round up to make the numbers easier. So let's say for 10 of those, they are my 30-minute classes. So I'm just going to multiply by 1. 10 times 1 is 10. And let's say I have one of my 60-minute classes are getting a recording. So I'd multiply that by 2, which gives me 2. So this is if you teach lots of different variations. Some of you might have this very simple. If you teach only 1v1, 30 minutes, you have it a lot easier to calculate. So this is to help those people that have lots of different variations of classes calculate. So now I just add up all of the numbers in my credit total. And I'm going to use a calculator, even though I can do it in my head, just to make sure I don't mess up. So 10 plus 10 plus 12 plus 8 plus 10 plus 2. That gives me 52. So when I added up all of these numbers, the total credit, remember, this is for a week of classes. So I want to figure out how much this is in a month. So if I have 52 credits I'm going to use in a week, all I do is multiply times 4. Again, use my calculator just to make sure I don't make a mistake. 52 times 4 gives me 208. So that tells me at the end of the month, I will be using 208 RMB, which is my credits. 208 credits. So, well, that doesn't really help me compare to my subscription because my subscription is in US dollars. So all you have to do, and again, this could fluctuate month to month, year to year. I just go onto Google and I just type in 208 RMB to USD. And that tells me my total in US dollars would be $30.55. So now I can compare to my subscription. So on a normal month, if I teach every single class that I have on my schedule, I will be paying about $30 if I do the consumption, but only $20, at least the first year with the discount, or $25 after that if I do the subscription. So looking at this, I would say, well, the subscription is the best option for me money-wise. It's going to save me more money, okay? Now let's say you have a much simpler schedule. So for me, I teach all 1v1 and they're all 30 minutes or less. So I don't have to do anything in this category. I just have to do my 1v1 category up here. So again, number of classes a week. Let's say you teach 20 classes a week. They're all 30 minutes or less. So I multiply by 1 and I get 20. So for classes, I use 20 RMB credit a week. Then I go down to cloud recording. Again, optional. If you don't want to record any, it's done, 0, done. Or if you want to add that as an additional option for your students, you can. So for me, let's say I teach 20 classes a week, but only 10 I'm going to record. Since they are 30 minutes long, which really they're 25, but I'm going to round up. So I'm going to multiply that by 1 to get 10 credits for the recording a week. So now I just add up my totals. So in 1 week, I will use 30 RMB credits. But again, I want to find out the month total, so I multiply by 4. So I know in a month, if I teach every single one of my classes, I will use 120 RMB credits. So now I need to go back to my phone and figure out how much is that in US dollars at this moment. So right now, 120 RMB is about 1762. So if I compare that to my subscription with my discount of $20, it's still a little bit cheaper for the consumption. And if I eventually have to pay the full price, so $25 a month, I'm definitely saving more money with the consumption. But it's important to remember to think about the long term. So for me, I am at my max. I am not going to be adding any more students. So I'm never going to be spending more than 120 RMB credits a month. I might get less because of cancellations or being sick. So I might save money every month, more money, but I'm never going to be spending more with my consumption. But if you are still building your business and you know you're going to be adding more students, you need to keep that in mind, because obviously the more students you add, the higher your consumption is going to be. So it's something to think about, because I don't think you can switch plans in the middle of your subscription or the middle of your consumption. I know at the end of your consumption or the end of your subscription, you can switch plans, but I don't think you can in the middle. So definitely keep that in mind when you're making your decision. Also, with the consumption, you can figure out how long your consumption will last. So if you started with 2,000, and I know I spend about, on average, at the max, 120 RMB a month, I can figure out how long that's going to last me. So all you have to do is divide, I'm gonna get my calculator out, make sure I don't make any mistakes. 2,000 divided by 120 is 16.666666. So with my consumption method, with 1 year, I get 1 year and that's it. When my year's up, I have to pay again. But with my consumption, after a year, I still have 4 months left, or even more if I have cancellations during the month. That helps extend my credits. So I am not only saving money every month because it's deducting less, I have this that's going to last me a lot longer. While all my friends are having to resubscribe after a year, I'm still using my original $320 I paid is still in effect. I'm still able to use it. So that being said, remember, I'm not telling you which one is the best for you. You have so many different factors to look at. Which one is going to save you money? But your other factor is which one is just easier to understand. Make sure you're making the best decision for you, because either one you pick, you're pretty much stuck in that for at least a year, if not more. So make sure you're making the decision wisely. Last, I know this video is super long. Last, some important information. No refunds, whether it's subscription or consumption. So if you don't use all of your consumption, it will just sit there until you decide to use it again. Subscription, if you don't use it, once your year runs out, it's gone. There are no refunds if you stop. No charge, and this is for consumption, really only. If you leave the class before 15 minutes, you don't get charged for that consumption, which is excellent, because I've had many a times where students have forgotten about class. I send a message on WeChat. I wait until 14 and a half minutes just to be safe. If they're not there, I leave, and I don't get charged for the recording because I didn't start it, and I don't get charged for the class. So I'm saving money that way. Free time. Again, this really only applies to consumption because the subscription is unlimited anyway. Free time if you go over by 20 minutes. Remember, you have to set the class for 30 minutes or less. But once you get to the end of that 30 minutes, you can stay an additional 20 minutes for free, which is excellent. So that's good for if a student's late and you are able to extend the class to finish the 30 minutes, only up to 20. Or if there's tech issues on your side that you want to make up for at the end of class, you can stay and you only get charged for the class you set it for, which is that 30 minutes. So that is an excellent advantage to consumption as well. Just a reminder, class fees round up to the half hour. So if your class is 25 minutes, you get charged for 30. If your class is set for 45 minutes, you would be charged for an hour. And only one teacher per account. You can't add teachers to your account to share the cost. You would have to get a school business account if you wanted to add teachers. And of course, the school business account is a lot more upfront. And the referral code. If you do want to upgrade, I highly recommend using the 20% off that one time to save you a little bit money. And then, of course, after that, you can always do something after your subscription is up if you realize it's not for you, or If you wanted to continue, just remember that 20% off only works once. And I keep saying code. There is no code. It's a link. So what you do is you click on the link and a page will come up, and you just scroll down and it's going to ask for your name, your, I think your phone number, your email, and then you submit that. When you submit that, it says somebody will contact you. As you can imagine, the sales staff is super busy right now. It's a small staff and they probably have hundreds of teachers they're contacting. So if you've already received a message from a sales rep, all you have to do is contact the rep, whatever they contacted you with, and then just let them know that you completed a referral link. Just tell them the email that you put in the referral link, and then they can look that up in the system and get you squared away. I also heard they're giving away a 1-month free trial, but that's a little tricky. It's for 1 month, but it's really only 100 RMB credits, which is that consumption. So you can use that up to a month, but once you run out of that 100 RMB credits, your trial is over, even if it's before 1 month. So keep that in mind. You don't want to wait too long to make a decision, because if you get to the end, it might take a few days to be able to get everything sorted out because of how busy they are. So I highly recommend, if you choose to upgrade, do it as soon as you can before the end of the month, so you're not scrambling and trying to find a sales rep to help get you started with the business plan. But I want to make sure everybody just has all the information to make the best decision for them. Let me know if you have any other questions, and goodbye.